General Manager of the Industrial and Energy Solutions Division. That's a mouthful, isn't it? I always enjoy having the opportunity to come out and introduce myself to folks and talk about the fact that I'm part of the Internet of Things group at Intel. And we talk about Internet of Things, it's 50 billion devices being connected. And right after I tell people that, it's sort of like Intel's also going to be investing in figuring out how to boil all the oceans on the planet. That's sort of what it's like. But seriously, the opportunity is simply phenomenal. If you think about the opportunity we have to connect every device, have every device be able to communicate with other devices, and to be able to communicate and compute, gives you a wealth of data that you've never had access to before in your lifetime. But the real opportunity there is really about the fact that if you can take that information and process it securely, give you some analysis and some insight, so that you as an individual or a company has the ability to make a conscious or deliberate decision about what you're going to do, that's going to change the course of your entire life. And that's one of the reasons why I'm incredibly excited about the role that I have at Intel. I think there's no better time to be part of the high-tech community than now, because I think we're going to go through a transformation that we've never seen before.
You're welcome.
And then when I think about other potential transformations that are happening, the other one that's happening right now is really about diversity and inclusion. There is no better time right now in Silicon Valley, in high tech, to be talking about and being a part of that conversation about inclusion. Our CEO, Brian Krasanich, at CES had a very bold vision for what he wants to do at Intel, in Intel diversity and technology. And so I wanted to spend a few minutes sharing with you some of the things that we're doing in that space. So at CES, he announced our vision. And if you think about it, the thing that got the most press is about the fact that we're going to go to full inclusion by 2020 of diverse talent. But there's other things that we talked about over that period of time, and I'm going to share that with you really quickly. Well, if you're going to achieve full workforce representation, the first thing you got to go do is start hiring people. And since the beginning of this year, when we announced the initiative, we're proud to say that 40% of the new hires that we've had at Intel are diverse. And we're continuing to do things very creatively to bring folks into the company in ways that we've never done before. But frankly, that's just not good enough. Because really the issue is really about creating the pipeline. And so as part of our $300 million initiative that we're spreading over 5 years, we're investing in high schools to really bring kids into science and engineering. Because if we don't create that pipeline, there's going to be no one to hire. We've already invested $5 million with the Oakland Unified School District that we think over the next 5-year period will impact over 2,400 students, getting them engaged in engineering and science, because we have to get them there. The other thing that we're focusing on is really looking at the other aspects of diversity. Intel's a huge company. We have a tremendous number of suppliers, and we have a lot of influence in the supply chain. So one of the things that we're doing is we're investing in our supply chain to bring more diverse companies into our supply network. We've made a commitment that by 2020, we're going to be spending $1 billion annually with diverse suppliers. We're on trajectory this year to hit $250 million with diverse suppliers. Another thing that we're trying to do is not just the direct influence that we have through the purchasing that we make, but we're also influencing and encouraging a lot of the big companies that we work with who also have suppliers. Now, we can't tell them what to do, but we're a big company. We surely can at least have the conversation with them about it. The other area that I think is very interesting for us is that we're investing in the entrepreneurs. Intel is one of the largest early-stage investors of startup companies in Silicon Valley. What we've decided to do is we're setting aside $125 million to invest with new startups, diverse new startups. We've already announced 4 that we've invested $17 million in, and we're on a trajectory to hit $25 million by the end of this year. So again, we're looking at the full gamut of things that we can have an influence on. And lastly, the thing that we're focusing on as well is this whole area around women in gaming. And you've seen some of the things that have happened. There's a lot of real tension in the gaming industry around the fact that women aren't really welcome. Well, Intel's looking to change that. So one of the things that we're doing is we're actually sponsoring one of the first professional women's gaming team in the professional gaming environment. But I think more importantly, and I think the thing that has a bigger impact, I think, on every child, is that we're also going to address the issue of cyberbullying. And so we're working with foundations to really try to address that issue as we move forward. So what we're trying to do holistically is look at every aspect of it. Very selfishly, we want to bring new people into the company, so hiring. But we also want to create a pipeline so that there's future folks that we can bring into the company. We want to invest in our supplier network because we have tremendous footprint and influence in that environment. We want to make sure that we're giving diverse entrepreneurs an opportunity to also play through all the investments that we make. And then finally, we want to make gaming, which is a huge industry, welcoming to everyone. So those are the major things that we're focused on. And one of the cool things about it, from an Intel perspective, is that we're incredibly transparent about it. Everything that I just talked to you about is on our public website. Since we made the announcement at CES, we did a mid-year report, which is a PDF that you could download, and you can look about and talk about any of the items that I just spoke to. So I really encourage you to go there and seek out that information and understand what we're really trying to do. It's a journey. The things that we talked about is between now and 2020, but it's just a start. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't think there could be a better time to be in high tech than right now. Because as an African American, after 30 years, I've never had a CEO stand up at a public event and say what Brian said. I think his motives are very good. But what I'm doing is trying to capitalize on that right now in terms of the things that we do, in terms of hiring, in terms of the way we're supporting HBCUs, our high school opportunities. So I'm trying to get all I can get. Amen. So the last thing that I just want to mention, and this is to the students in the room, whether you're a high school or college, and maybe a few of the entrepreneurs. I'm a movie buff, and so there's a 1967 movie, yes, I'm a little old, called The Graduate, and it starred Dustin Hoffman. And if you go to YouTube, you can Google this, or you can go to YouTube and check this out. There's a scene in that movie where he's getting advice from someone about his career. And so this gentleman pulls him aside, and he says to him, one word, plastics. So I guarantee you, go check that out. Now, I have one word for you as well in high tech, robots. I think that there's a renaissance that's going to occur. Robots have been around for years, mostly in the industrial environments. I think that there's going to be a renaissance in terms of traditional kinds of industrial and commercial robots, but more so in service and personal. And I would just challenge you to just go out and search the internet and see what's going on out there. Huge opportunity. One of the other roles that I play at Intel is I'm trying to help Intel figure out what our strategies are going to be to capitalize on that as it grows. So I would encourage all of you to think about that, particularly the students in the room. So again, I want to congratulate Black Enterprise for the opportunity that they're afforded us today through TECHCNXT. This is their inaugural event. They promised to be back, and I think that's cool.
He does have his own.
And again, I encourage all of you to have an exciting time today. We're going to bring a panel up here next. One of the gentlemen on that panel is Frank Sanders. He's our vice president that's responsible for our supply chain and procurement. So, you know, that money I talked about for suppliers, you get a chance to talk to them and ask them some questions about that. So I encourage you to do that. So again, thank you very much for listening to me today. And really have an incredible day here at TECHCNXT. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we'll see you a little later. We're going to pop in on our classes. We've got 5 HBCUs here creating a financial management